going to start with the warm-up. You're going to do this warm-up before every session throughout the program. And the first exercise we're going to do is just make sure we're standing up tall and straight. And then we're going to take the shoulders back, bring the arms up, and tighten those back muscles, stretch those pec muscles. Just going to fix our posture a little bit. We spend a lot of time sitting down on phones or on the computer. Just hold that little stretch, tighten the back muscles. And then you're going to go into some rotations. Just easing the back off. Now the warm-up becomes much more important if you're doing this first thing in the morning, so make sure you really take some time to warm up. Okay, so then we're going to go into some pummeling. So pummeling is just taking the fists, we're just going to wake up the glute muscles. This is going to help them fire up more during the exercise and activate more muscle as you're exercising. Okay, so then next we're just going to go into some nice, easy lunges. These don't have to be too deep, we're just warming up. Just sort of waking up the knees, waking up the hips. I'm just going to do a few each leg. And if you just do one more, we're going to move back to the back and do an exercise called the inchworm. You're just going to bend at the hips. Bring the hands down towards the mat. Now you might have to bend your knees here a little bit if your hamstrings are tight. You're then going to walk the hands out. You're going to go all the way down until you find yourself in a plank position. Just hold that for a couple of seconds. Then you're going to walk the hands back. Then we're just going to repeat that 3 more times. And you should be feeling just a nice sort of stretch in the back of the legs here. We're waking up the abdominal muscles, all those core muscles that wrap around our midsection. Then just walking the hands back up. Each time you're going to feel a nice stretch in the calves and the hamstrings. So just a couple more times. That's it, holding that plank position back up. And just one more time, then we'll move on to our next exercise. Okay, so the next exercise is going to be the side lunge. So what you're going to do is have your feet in the middle, you should step out to the side, bend the knee, keep the trailing leg straight, then back to the middle again, then the other side. So again, we're just opening up the hips a little bit, still warming up the knees, just getting the heart rate up a little bit, getting our body ready for the main workout. Okay, so just a couple of exercises to go. So now we're going to go into the squats. So you just have the feet apart, just a little bit wider than the hip width. You're going to keep the weight in the heels. You're going to have your hands out in front for balance if you'd like. You're just going to sit back. It's almost like you're going to tap a chair behind you and come back up. So what we're really looking for there is to try and get the thighs parallel to the ground and make sure when you're coming back up, you're squeezing those glute muscles together, pushing those hips forward. So just going to do a few more of those. Again, keeping the weight going back on the heels, keeping the body upright. And then just one more of those. And then we're going to run through that one more time. So you're going to come back up, stretch those pec muscles, tighten those back muscles. Just really feel that nice contraction across the top of the back. And then you're going to go to the rotations. As just feeling those back muscles stretch out a little bit. Then one more time with the pummeling. Okay, then we're into the lunges again. So again, just nice forward, easy lunges. So at this point, you're going to feel you're probably feeling your heart rate go up a little bit, feeling the muscles warm up, getting us ready for the main workout. So one more each leg. And then we're into the inchworm again. So the inchworm is just like bending forward from the hips. Again, bending the knees if your hamstrings are a little bit tight, walking the hands out. So just again, going to go for 4 of these, get those core muscles woken up, and now the shoulders are waking up a little bit as well. Again, just reaching down, getting that nice stretch down the hamstrings, down the calves, walking the hands out, holding that plank. Just a couple more of these. One more, then we're going to move on to our squats. Just going to sit back, keep the weight on the heels, keeping the chin parallel with the floor, looking ahead. And the last bit of our warm-up is going to be the hip flexor stretch. Just placing the right leg forward, bringing the back knee down, just taking the front foot far enough forward that you can push the hips forward. So you're really looking for a stretch down that trailing leg. The hip flexor muscle is the one that shortens because we sit down quite a lot. And again, it's just something to open up the hips, get a stretch down that back thigh. Just gonna hold that for a few more seconds. And then you're gonna swap over the legs. Again, so you're getting a nice stretch across that hip, down the trailing leg. And just easing that off by just taking your time just standing back up. Ready to go. Your 5 exercises this round are squats, plank, reverse lunges, run on the spot, and press ups. So let's start with the squats. So just like the warm-up, you're going to sit back, keep the weight on the heels. You're looking to get the thighs about parallel to the ground. You may be able to get lower, but again, just keeping that chin parallel with the ground as well. There's no real bend in the back. All you're doing is bending at the knees, in the hips, bringing the hands up for balance, if that helps you get into a deeper squat. Next up, we have the plank. So you're just going to come down onto the ground, and you're onto the toes, onto the elbows, and what we're looking for here is a nice straight line in the body. So you can at this point squeeze your thighs together, pull the belly button in, and you'll feel that corset of abdominal muscles tightening in the plank position. Our next exercise is going to be reverse lunges. So we're just going to stand upright and take a step back. So taking the knee down to just above the ground, 90-degree angle in both the knees, keeping the body upright, the chin's remaining parallel with the floor, and that's your reverse lunges. Okay, the next one is just running on the spot. So that's it, just looking to get those knees up. So again, so looking for those thighs parallel with the ground. This is just a bit of a pulse raiser we've got. And then our next exercise is press-ups. So as this is week 1 of the program, we're going to be on the knees for the press-ups. So you're going to have your hands just about wider than shoulders, just under the shoulders. You're on your knees, and it's, if you imagine letting the body fall forward and bending the elbows back and pushing back up. Now you're looking just to develop that so that eventually your chest or chin may be touching the floor. And that is your 5 exercises of this workout. Now the cool down. So we're going to rotate the arms around. Nice big rotations, we're easing the shoulders off. Just nice big circles backwards, opening up the chest. So nice and slow circles backwards. And then hands by the side, we're just going to go into rotations now, so you can elevate the arms up a little bit. And again, just having a little look over your shoulder each side, get the neck mobilised a little bit, maybe a little twist of the hips. Okay, and the hands are just going down by the side. So we're going to do shoulder rolls, so we're just going to really lift the shoulders up, shrugging them back, easing the shoulder muscles off in the shoulder joint. So a few more of those. And then we're going to go down to the hip flexor stretch. You're going to take the right foot out in front, back knee down. You're going to push the hips forward to keep the body upright. So we're looking for a stretch down that left leg over the left hip. You're going to take the hands up in front of you, interlock the fingers. You're then going to push the hands away, looking for a little stretch across the top of the back there. And if you can, extend the stretch in the hip, just pushing the hips forward a little bit, but remaining upright. I'm just going to hold that. You're going to take the fingers behind, interlock them, and push the hands away. Looking for a little stretch across the front of the shoulders there. And again, if you can, just pushing the hips forward a little bit more, really stretching out that hip flexor and thigh. Okay, then we're changing the legs over. So you put the left leg front, right leg back, push the hips forward, get that stretch across the right hip, down the right thigh. Taking the right hand up, sticking it in the air towards the sky, touching between the shoulder blades, and pulling the arm across, getting a stretch across that right tricep. Again, keeping the body upright. Whenever it's comfortable, just extending that hip stretch a little bit forward if you can. Then swapping the arms over. Again, now stretching the left tricep. Again, only if comfortable, pushing the hips forward a little bit more, just extending that stretch. And then just slowly and carefully going to come up to standing, relax the arms down. We're going to go into a thigh stretch. So taking one foot in your hand, taking the heel to the bottom, keeping the knees together, pushing the hips forward, shoulders are back and down, chest up and proud. Just holding that stretch for a minute. And then we're going to swap the legs over. Again, just keeping that hips facing forward, knees together. Just holding that for a few more seconds. Okay, then relax that foot down. And the last one is we're going to stretch up. Fingers overhead, reaching for skywards, trying to stretch every muscle that you can. Nice big stretch onto the tiptoes. Nice big stretch. And then just circle the arms down to the side. And you're done.